right, hey everybody, Imperial Grunt. Here's the diorama that I've been working on. Got the inside of this thing almost complete. Some damage, blast holes, things like that. Did a little scoring on the to make some relief on this wall. Did the same thing up here on the top. But yeah, it's looking pretty good. Still need to add my rebar and metal and that kind of stuff, rubble and things like that in here. My previous video, you can see where I'm making some rubble out of some old brick or yard pavers that I had. But I'm also collecting the remnants of this stuff to use as well. But had some requests over there on Instagram about how did I get this finished like this. Well, basically I do a lot of dry brushing, which is you don't have a very none to very little water in your brush, and you just put layers of paint on, right? But you do it very lightly, so instead of just covering the whole thing, you're letting that the ends of the brush catch the texture of the object that you're painting. So you're not just slapping it on, you're kind of just lightly, well, brushing it on, okay? And you build it up to the level that you want. But before I do this though, one of the things that I found with this Foamular board is, and I've got a piece here that I haven't done anything with, but I like to take some sandpaper, again, like medium grit, whatever, and I'll sand the surface to take that kind of that finish off, and then it looks like that. It gives it more of a tooth for the paint to connect to, and I think it looks a little more realistic. But now I've got the whole backside to finish of this thing, okay? And you can see I used the black gesso to coat the whole thing first. I just like the way it looks. It's very matte. Looks like it's made out of charcoal almost. But that's my base. Everything is coated in the black gesso. Now for my cement colors, I don't use that many, but I use Territorial Beige. I can't recommend this stuff enough because it's great for vehicles, mud and things like that. Again, it's really cool. I don't want to use just all regular white, so I'll use some antique white. Again, apple barrel paints that you can get at Walmart or whatever. And I use some white, okay? And then to kind of blend everything together, I come back and use the gesso instead of black acrylic. This is so matte. Again, I just like the way it looks. Again, that's what I've found, okay? All right, so what we gotta do is get a little bit of paint on our palette, and I haven't even changed the water from my brushes yet, y'all, so that shows you how bad I am, but it's the same water, right? It's the same color, as long as it keeps the brush from, and I need to WD-40 my chair, but as long as it keeps the brush from dry. Ooh, and there went all my khaki. Ooh, boy. So I'm gonna have to use it all. Okay. All right, so let's get a brush. Again, you can see it's still got all my color on there. It can be kind of wet at, now. Eventually the brush is gonna dry out as you go across your surface, but I'm just gonna get some white, and I'll try to do this while I hold the camera at the same time. I'm just gonna go like this, and again, that's kind of heavy, but you can also take your hand, smudge it out. And as you can see, I wear some rubber gloves. Here we go. So it's not so, you could do this with a rag too. Okay, so let me take some of that paint off there. Oops. But basically, so yeah, it already has kind of a textured look to it, but then I'll get some of this off-white, right? Same brush, don't even change the brush. And I'll go to another area, a little bit of distance, a little bit of space. Try to be as random as I can, and I'll just work that in there, kind of like that. And then they put this brush down, and again, I'm just gonna use my hand. Again, I'm trying to hold my camera and do this with one hand and kind of make it work. So just bear with me. When I do this, I'm never really explaining it. I'm just kind of going with the flow, if you know what I mean. Okay, so let me get a little bit of this black gesso here on my palette. Not too much. This stuff is kind of expensive. Right, then I'll get a little bit on my brush here. And then I'm getting some gray. There we go. Then I'm gonna go in between and just kind of get that in there. And I'm not getting it as dry as I normally like, because again, I'm trying to hold this thing and film. But that's kind of how I go. And I'll add a little bit. Again, I painted patches. I'm pretending like an impressionist painter from back in the day when I do this. Because when you look at concrete, aged concrete, stuff like that, it's not just one color. You know, there's a variety of color that's in there. You know, it's not just one. And this is my paint box. I kind of rub that paint off of there. And so again, I can add a little bit of that. See, that's what I'm talking about with the dry brush. It's barely on there. Okay, just kind of tone stuff down a little bit. And I can spread that out some. Okay, and we get a little more, just a little bit of white. Spread that out just a little bit on my table / palette. There we go. I use the same brush for a lot of stuff. And this is what I'm talking about with the dry brush. Just lightly, just kind of go over it. Just like that. You don't want to be too regular in your strokes. But then you just build it up. You can let these white patches and stuff and off-white patches come through because concrete really looks like that. Go back and watch like movies like Full Metal Jacket and stuff like that, where they're fighting in, I think it's Way City. That's a big inspiration for me on a lot of this stuff. If you've never seen that movie, yeah, let's work that in some, just a little bit. Okay, but I think you get the picture. Okay, now see where this hole or this damage is. All right, I want to get in there with my light gray and just kind of, because again, it's not going to be charred on the inside. That's still concrete. It's just inside that wall. But you might have a little bit of mildew or something like that coming out or whatever. So let me get a little bit of my black gesso and just add some streaks if any of it will come through. Nope, I need a little more gesso or black paint. And I will just, ooh, there we go. Just subtle. There we go. And then I'll, of course, go over that, layer over it. Again, it's, you know, it's not just going to be one color, boop, boop, then you're done. At least that's not how I do it. And I think it gives me some pretty cool realism. And then what I'm gonna do at the end of this is I'm gonna dry brush that territorial beige on the base of it to where you know, where dirt, sand, dust would accumulate. All that good stuff. So there we go. Sorry the lighting kind of sucked, but I think you get the idea. So now I just gotta finish this side and to go along with that. Anyway, thanks for watching. I know this was a long video. I hope this helped. Again, you got my colors. I just use white, antique white, and I use black gesso. Those are the only colors I use. I prime the surface first with the black gesso. Before I do that, I use sandpaper to roughen up the rough the surface up just a little bit to give a slight more tooth to that surface so that paint has something to connect to. Okay, awesome. If you have any questions, anything like that, you know, hit me up in the comments, whatever, and I appreciate you so much. Pure Grunt out.